Here are the key questions for the Indiana Tank and Endorsement (CDL) exam. Study each one carefully and understand both the rule and the reasoning behind it. What does the N endorsement on an Indiana CDL authorize? Operating tank vehicles used to haul liquids or gases in bulk with a capacity of 119 gallons or more. This endorsement is required for bulk liquid or gas transport. Let's move on. What minimum tank capacity triggers the N endorsement requirement in Indiana? 119 gallons or more of liquid or gas in a single bulk container. This is the federal threshold for tank classification. Next question. What written test is required for the N endorsement in Indiana? The tank vehicle knowledge test in addition to the general CDL knowledge test. Drivers must demonstrate understanding of tank-specific hazards. Continuing. What is liquid surge and what causes it? Movement of liquid in a partially filled tank caused by acceleration, braking, or turning. This shifting load affects vehicle stability. Next point. How does liquid surge affect braking in a tank vehicle? The forward-moving liquid pushes the vehicle ahead, making stopping harder. This increases stopping distance significantly. Let's continue. How does liquid surge affect cornering in a tank vehicle? Sideways moving liquid pushes the vehicle toward the outside of a turn, increasing rollover risk. This is why curves are especially dangerous. Let's keep going. What are baffles in a tank vehicle and what do they reduce? Internal dividers, reducing forward and backward surge but not side-to-side surge. They improve stability but do not eliminate all movement. Next question. What type of tank has no baffles and what does it carry? A smooth bore tank used for food-grade liquids like milk or juice where baffles are hard to clean. These tanks experience the most surge. Let's move on. What makes tank vehicles prone to rollover? A high center of gravity from the elevated liquid load that shifts during turns. This requires slower speeds and smooth handling. Continuing. What speed adjustment is critical when a tank approaches a curve? Slow, well below the posted limit since it is set for cars, not heavy tanks. Tank vehicles must take curves more cautiously. Next point. What is outage in a tank vehicle? Space intentionally left unfilled to allow for liquid expansion from heat. This prevents pressure buildup and damage. Let's continue. Why must certain tanks not be completely filled? Some liquids expand with heat and a full tank could rupture or leak. Outage space is a safety requirement. Let's keep going. What is the retest date on a cargo tank? The date by which the tank must undergo pressure testing and inspection to remain legal. Regular inspection ensures tank integrity. Next question. What is the MC306 cargo tank used for flammable liquids like gasoline and diesel with an oval or round cross-section? These are common fuel transport tanks. Continuing. What is the MC331 cargo tank? Designed for liquefied compressed gases like propane and ammonia under pressure. These tanks must withstand high internal pressure. Next point. What is the MC338 cryogenic tank? Used for cryogenic liquids like liquid nitrogen, oxygen, and argon at very low temperatures. These require special insulation and safety systems. Let's move on. What is the MC312 or .412 tank? Designed for corrosive liquids including acids and caustic materials. These tanks resist chemical damage. Continuing. What pre-trip items are specific to a tank vehicle? Check for leaks at valves, fittings, and connections. Inspect the tank shell. Verify placards match shipping papers and confirm emergency equipment is present. Tank integrity is critical before movement. Next question. What must a tank driver verify before loading a liquid hazmat? That the tank is compatible with the material and has no existing leaks or damage. Incorrect loading can cause dangerous reactions. Let's continue. What is the vapor pressure risk? When loading a volatile liquid, vapors can build pressure or escape, creating fire or explosion hazard requiring proper venting. Proper procedures prevent catastrophic incidents. Next point. What is the correct response if a tank vehicle begins to tip in a curve? Ease off the accelerator gradually without braking hard and steer smoothly through the curve. Sudden braking can worsen rollover risk. Let's keep going. What attendance rule applies to a loaded hazmat tank in a populated area? Must be attended at all times by a qualified person aware of the hazard and able to move it. This ensures immediate response if needed. Continuing. What is the risk of parking a loaded hazmat tank on a grade? A brake failure could send catastrophic cargo rolling. Always secure and avoid slopes when possible. Next question. What must a driver do if a hazmat leak is found during a trip? Stop safely away from people, notify emergency services, and follow ERG without attempting personal repair. Safety and reporting are the priority. Let's move on. What does dot followed by numbers on a cargo tank indicate? The tank meets specific dot construction and testing specifications for that cargo type. These markings verify compliance. Continuing. What is the correct approach on a long Indiana downgrade with a tank? Select a low gear before starting and apply brakes in firm controlled intervals to prevent brake fade. Proper technique prevents overheating brakes. Next point. How does a full tank compare to a partial load for stopping distance? A full tank requires more distance to stop and a partial load adds surge unpredictability to braking. Both conditions require caution. Let's continue. What Indiana-specific concern applies to tank vehicles? Indiana weight limits apply to tank vehicles and overweight loads require an Indiana BMV permit with route and escort requirements. Compliance avoids penalties and hazards. Let's keep going. What is the correct following distance for a tank under normal conditions? 1 second per 10 feet of vehicle length plus 1 second over 40 miles per hour. Extra space is essential for control. Next question. What following distance adjustment applies in bad weather? Double the normal following distance. Reduced traction increases stopping distance. Continuing. How is the N endorsement added to an existing Indiana CDL? Pass the tank vehicle knowledge test at the Indiana BMV. No skills test is required for the endorsement. Next point. What is the X endorsement and how is it obtained? Combines Hazmat H and Tank N requiring both knowledge tests and a TSA background check. This allows transport of hazardous bulk liquids. Let's move on. What happens to liquid surge as the tank fills? Surge decreases as there is less room for liquid to move. Full tanks are more stable but heavier. Continuing. What fill level creates the worst surge conditions? A partially filled tank between 1/4 and 3/4 full. This is the most dangerous range for shifting loads. Next question. What is the difference between pressurized and non-pressurized tanks? Pressurized tanks carry gases or volatile liquids under pressure. Non-pressurized carry liquids at atmospheric pressure. Design depends on cargo type. Let's continue. What is the correct right turn technique for a tank vehicle? Swing wide only after the front of the vehicle clears the corner using off-tracking awareness. This prevents striking curbs or objects. Next point. What is the effect of baffles on side-to-side surge? Baffles do not prevent side-to-side surge, so both baffled and smooth-bore tanks experience lateral surge. Drivers must still handle turns carefully. Let's keep going. What must a tank driver check after coupling to a trailer? Verify all connections, airlines, electrical and fifth wheel are secure and tank valves are closed before moving. A final check prevents major failures. Continuing. What is Indiana law on handheld cell phone use in a tank vehicle? CMV prohibited at all times while driving and counts as a serious traffic violation. Distractions are strictly enforced. Next question. What CDL disqualification applies to a tank driver convicted of DUI in Indiana? A DUI in any CMV results in a 1-year CDL disqualification on the first offense. This applies regardless of cargo. Let's continue. What serious violation rule applies to Indiana tank drivers? 2 serious violations within 3 years result in a 60-day CDL disqualification. Repeated unsafe behavior leads to suspension. Next point. What ELD requirement applies to most Indiana tank CDL drivers? An electronic logging device must be used unless a specific federal exemption applies. Hours of service must be tracked accurately. Let's move on. What is the 30-minute break rule for Indiana tank drivers? A 30-minute break is required after 8 cumulative hours of driving time. This helps reduce fatigue. Continuing. What is the 11-hour driving rule for Indiana tank drivers? May drive up to 11 hours after 10 consecutive hours off duty within a 14-hour on-duty window. This defines legal driving limits. Next question. What pre-trip check is unique to a cryogenic tank? Verify pressure relief valves are functional, check insulation integrity, and confirm cryogenic safety equipment is present. These tanks require specialized safety checks. Continuing. What is the fire extinguisher requirement on an Indiana tank vehicle? At minimum a 10 BC extinguisher or 2 5 BC units in the cab accessible to the driver. Fire readiness is mandatory. Next point. What is the Indiana rule on routes near environmentally sensitive areas? Carriers transporting hazmat near Indiana rivers and Lake Michigan must follow designated routes and may need to notify local emergency planning committees. Environmental protection rules apply. Let's continue. What should an Indiana tank driver do when the low air warning activates? Pull off safely and stop immediately. Do not continue driving. Loss of air pressure can cause brake failure. Let's keep going. What is the spring brake activation pressure in a CMV? Spring brakes apply automatically when pressure drops to roughly 20 to 45 psi. This is a critical safety backup system. Next question. What is the effect of rain on braking distance in Illinois? Wet roads significantly increase stopping distance. Reduced traction requires slower speeds and more following distance.